Welcome to the farm.
Welcome to the farm. I'm Justin, and in the last video we started working on building some removable sides for a rock bucket to make our rock bucket much more useful. And I kind of ran out of time. I left off with heating the pieces here because they were kind of warped down, trying to flatten this back out. That's what all these clamps and strut are for. If you haven't seen that video, I'll put a link to that in the description. But let's go ahead, remove these clamps, and see how much we were able to straighten these things out. I doubt it's very much at all. Yeah, I don't think we adjusted anything at all. So unfortunately, I think what it came down to is the torch I was using, which is just this little MAP gas torch. It's just not hot enough to heat this up sufficiently to be able to bend it back. What I really need is an oxyacetylene torch, which I don't have at the moment. I'm hoping to get one very soon, but I don't have one. So we're gonna have to just kind of let this run the way it is. I think the side panels are flexible enough that once we figure out how we're gonna attach everything, they should bend over and make a nice seal. Yeah, let's go ahead and grab the piece we made in the last video, put it on here, and see what it looks like. I think that's gonna be pretty nice. The plan to make my sides removable is to use these 3/8 grade 8 bolts, and I'm just going to drill 4 holes into the side plate, and then I'll be able to take these bolts, slide them through, put a nut on, and then I think I'm actually going to tack weld these bolts to the plate, so that way all I need to do is use one wrench to remove the nut, and then I'll be able to slide the whole plate off with the bolts intact, and then I'll be able to slide it on, all the bolts through the holes, put all my nuts on, and then I have sides back on. Should be fairly easy to take this on and off. I was trying to come up with an idea of using something with like a pin where you just slide this in, pin it on, but the more I thought about it, everything would just be too loose, it would rattle around. I think putting these on and bolting them tight will make these sides a lot more secure, and I'll get a lot better function out of them. So let's go ahead, grab a drill, start drilling our holes. So we got our bolts all welded onto our plate now. I'm just going to let this sit in place and cool so we don't get hopefully too much distortion, and we'll see how it comes on and off. Alright, so we've let this sit, everything's nice and cool. Let's take the nuts off and see if this thing will lift off. Alright, so that came off a little hard, which I kind of figured it was going to, just because I drilled the holes the exact same size as the bolt. So I think what I'm going to do is actually take a little bit larger of a bit, and I'm going to open up the holes on the bucket itself. So that way when I come in here and set this down, everything will slide in real nice and easy, and slide back out real nice and easy too. Nice. That'll work amazing. Really, really happy with that. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to flip this bucket over. I'm going to quick whip up the other side, and I'll catch up with you when that's done. So the second plate is all assembled. I got the bolts through, welded in place. So now I just need to let this sit and cool before I drill out the bigger bolts in the rack bucket itself. But while this is cooling, I think I'm going to set up a table over here, and I'm going to get the other piece ready for paint. So to start with, I'm just going to scuff up the already painted surface with some sandpaper so the paint has a place to adhere really well. I'm just going to take a rag with some acetone, wipe it down real nice to clean off all the dust and the oils that'll be on there. That'll keep the paint from adhering. Then I'm just going to give it a quick hit of this Tractor Implement self-etching gray primer. Now I can just let that sit, dry for a little bit, and then we'll hit it with the paint. So now this has been sitting for probably about 30 minutes. It's just barely tacky. We're gonna go ahead and hit it with some paint. And again, I'm just doing some Implement paint, flat black. We'll see what it looks like. Well, there we go. One side is complete. So I'm just gonna let this sit, dry a little bit, and we'll swap it out for the other side, do the same process. And then I think we'll have to let these kind of sit and dry overnight. We'll put those back on the rock bucket. But I think what I'm gonna do now is, I built that grapple just about a year ago. I finished it, and I never got it painted, and it got all kind of rusty and nasty looking. So I think I might actually take that apart and work on getting that cleaned up so we can spray that as well. So the first thing I'm going to do to get the grapple all painted is I'm going to actually work on cleaning up the rock bucket itself and cleaning the uprights I installed for the grapples. And I'm just going to use a variety of steel brushes, grinder with the steel wheel, maybe a little bit of sandpaper, and just see how much rust I can just kind of buff off of there. Then we'll go through, we'll clean it with the acetone, put on our primer, put on our paint, and hopefully make it look really, really nice. The first thing I need to do is get all this grease off of here. So I was able to get it cleaned up pretty well with just this wire brush and a little bit of elbow grease. And it's not perfect, but I think it's going to be good enough for what I need to do. And to kind of combat the little bit of rust that still might be on there, I got Rust-Oleum Rust Stop Primer. So I'm just going to give that a good spray down with this, and then we can throw on a coat of paint. Alright, so we'll let this primer sit and kind of tack up, and then we'll hit it with paint. While that's happening, I'm going to go ahead and work on the other side. Well, there we go. Just got to paint the other side, and the bucket is ready to go, and we can start working on the arms. Well, there we go. The last part is fully painted. Now let me tell you, I finished this grapple probably a year ago, and I never got around to painting it. It feels really, really good to have it painted. And that rock bucket I built 3 years ago now, and I've wanted to make sides for that thing for 3 years. So it feels good to finally have all these things completed. I think the next thing we're going to do, those sides have been sitting for a few hours now. I think they're dry enough where we can bolt them onto the bucket and just see how they look and how they fit. We're not going to test them out today. That'll be in the next video, but I can't wait to see what they look like. Well, there we go. The sides are on the bucket. They bolted on really, really easy. I'm very, very happy with that. Hopefully these things will hold up well enough and not get too bent up where they'll still slide in and out. I am a little concerned about that just because of how thin they are, but I'm hoping that because I left those vertical pieces inside here, that's going to give it a little more strength and hopefully not bend quite as much. But that's going to do it for this one. In the next one, hopefully we will get this thing in some dirt, test it out the sides, and see how it performs. Just want to say thank you guys so much for watching. Hopefully you guys found this entertaining, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.